It's me, Dawn, and this is Not Without Right, a Shakespeare in the Public Domain podcast. And I'm still here with guests Roberta Insco and Jordan Williams. We began this conversation talking about Sophie Duncan's Juliet, the lives and afterlives of Shakespeare's first tragic heroine. That took us around the world, and now we are going to park ourselves in the theater as we continue our conversation from last week. Jordan, as the daughter of a theater maker
Oh
who
God.
has been doing Shakespeare the entirety of your life,
Okay.
you've been dragged to many, many, many Shakespeare plays.
Yeah.
Do you have some that you've enjoyed?
Okay, let me really sit with that. Some I've enjoyed. Okay, actually, Mom, I was separately when I'm not around you. I actually really do hype you up, but I can't do it to your face because then you'll get a big head, and that's not okay. Not yet, at least. But I was actually telling somebody just the other day about Merry Wives of Windsor and how you've done it like 3 times and how I have really enjoyed it each time you've done it. Or like each time I think I've only seen 2 of the 3 you've directed. But one was at OSF, Obvi, and I loved that one. And then I was gonna say spoilers, but like this happened years ago and there's like no going back. So like it's not really a spoiler, it's just history. How the show like ended and everybody was dancing to Beyonce. Was it Beyonce? Yes. It was Beyonce. Um, so I really enjoyed that. Let me think. What else have I seen that I've really enjoyed? Also at OSF, I actually really enjoyed when they did, I'm not going to remember the name of the play, but it was about war. And I think they did like, it's one of the ones where it's like, insert man name 1, 2, 3. The guy who had like long hair and then he like cut it all to come back and do the role. What is it? Do you know what I'm talking
Yes, you are
about?
talking about Dan Molina,
Yes.
who did Henry 4, parts
Yes.
1 and 2,
Yes.
and then Henry 5. And in
And he
Henry
like
4,
shaved his gorgeous hair. It
yes,
Oh
was
my
gorgeous.
gosh.
He shaved his head to like do the last one. Maybe he was also just like wanting to cut his hair, but in my mind, I was like, wow, he's committed to the role. But
I
yeah,
think
I
he
also
also got
really
a
enjoyed,
Henry tattoo. We
yeah,
he
love Dan
did.
Molina in this house.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed.
yeah.
Also, before I give it up, I do just want to say Roberta and I, sorry, Mom. Roberta and I are just like in love. But Roberta and I, when we were
Everlasting.
traveling Europe, Roberta actually mentioned it in previous episode, but we saw As You Like It at the Globe, which I don't remember like all the details, but I just remember having like a good time. It was funny. So I remember enjoying that experience. And we also saw Macbeth, which again, I don't really know in terms of like, was it great? I don't know, but I remember it has stuck
It
with me.
was long.
It was long and it
But
has,
Jordan, do you remember that birthing scene
yeah, see, this
of
is
the
the thing.
witches?
It's like, did I love it? I don't know, but it made a lasting impression.
I have very vivid memories of that show. Yeah,
And
that one was
that one, the
visceral.
Macbeth, was at RSC in Stratford. So there's that. It definitely has stuck with me. Is it a
Mhm,
favorite? I don't know. But those
mhm.
two, the As You Like It at the Globe and the Macbeth at RSC, have definitely made an imprint. I will say that much. So there's
Of
that.
of all those titles, I've only directed one. So
Um,
where's the hyping me up part? No, I'm
I
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm
no
kidding.
no 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 no. I remember another one. 12th
Mm.
night you did, I think at UMass, where like at one point, whoever was playing like viola, like jumped in the arms of what's his face? Who does she end up with?
Orsino.
Orsino. I was gonna say Duke, but then I was like, there's
I
more.
mean, yeah.
But yeah, she like jumped in his arms, and weren't the 2 people that played, weren't they together in real life? Or were they not?
They were dating.
They were dating. They were in college.
They were
So like,
dating. They were in college.
so
So they're not
like,
dating anymore, but they were dating.
so sorry if they ever watch this, you guys. I'm sorry. I was 8 years old and I was set loose on college campus because my mom is in the arts. So sorry for spilling all your business. But yeah, that was another good.
I'm glad that you enjoyed that 12th night from so long ago. When Roberta and I just did a 12th night together in 2023 at OSF, but no big, no big, no big. Maybe
It was
the
good.
2011 one was far more memorable.
Okay, listen.
I want to say two things. So Dan Molina, who is incredible and did in 2017, he played Hal in the Henry IV parts 1 and 2. And then in the following season, he did King Henry V. I saw him and his wife, Alejandra. They weren't married at the time. I saw them do Romeo and Juliet at OSF. And that was pretty tremendous to see the two of them do Romeo and Juliet. So I just wanted to shout that out. But also what I remember, Jordyn, was the 2015 production of Much Ado About Nothing at OSF, where the roses dropped from the ceiling. Yes. And you were captivated. You were like, can I do that in my bedroom?
I did love that because at the end of the day, I'm a woman who values things just looking pretty. And that looked really, really pretty. And yeah, like someone goes and like pulls one of the like string of roses and then the whole thing comes down. And I think like the lighting changes too. Well, I'm saying all of this as though like people can go back and watch it. Like it's filmed somewhere and it's not. So you just had to be there. Sorry. So yeah, that was really, really cool. I liked that.
I mean, it is archived, but I don't know. Like
you have to be a researcher. You have to be getting your dissertation like me.
Yeah.
Okay.
Roberta, what are some productions that you've seen live of Shakespeare that you are memorable for you?
I definitely second Dan Molina in those that we've already talked about. I feel like I second a lot of the things that Jordyn has mentioned. And okay, the Hamlet at OSF in the outdoor space with what remind me of, I think it was 2015
when Danforth did it and Ginny was Ophelia.
Yeah, I mean that one was like, I remember just being like just blown away. And then I also saw at the Public Richard III with, I don't want to butcher her name, Denai as Richard. Incredible, so powerful. And I didn't see it live, but I know that the Much Ado with Danielle Brooks was live, but I saw the recording but I also really liked that one. Yeah, so many. I feel like because we're on the West Coast, like OSF is kind of our, beacon of Shakespeare viewing, and so that's where a lot of my core Shakespeare viewing memories are. So whether good or bad, the majority of things that like I remember, whether I liked it or not, are because I saw them at OSF, and very grateful for that education, which our dear friend Marianne Mackey provided a lot of that opportunity to see. So a lot of those are like just ingrained in my mind. Honestly, my favorite, biased maybe, is Our Merry Wives. I just think that was just a riot of a good time. I mean, like I I was one of two incredible assistant directors on that production. But I think the acting, the music, like the storytelling, the what was unlocked in the story in like a very like difficult play, I think was really incredible. And that was directed by the Dawn Monique Williams.
Oh, okay. Thank you. It is true. Obviously I'm like, oh my gosh, episode over episode. I'm like, OSF, and then OSF, and OSF this, and OSF that. And like, um, I mean, I see Shakespeare other places, but it is true that on the West
Yeah,
Coast, um, it's definitely a beacon for us here on the West
yeah,
Coast. I did want to share that I do think that as of this recording, I could be wrong, but I think as of this recording, people can still watch the Deny Richard on PBS,
PBS.
and
Yeah.
maybe even Still That Much Ado. I'm not sure. It's been a minute since I checked, but I wrote a paper on That Much Ado for the Shakespeare Association of America annual conference that's coming up at the end of this month. In just a couple weeks here in March, the annual meeting will be in Boston, and I wrote a paper, and it's on that production directed by Kenny Leon, and it was still available at that time when I was writing that before the calendar year shifted. So it might still be available. And of course, there's so much tremendous, tremendous, tremendous pro shot Shakespeare available from Canada and the UK that people can still watch. In the US, we are still, even with the changes that came along during the COVID pandemic, we still are just not up to speed with everybody else, and being able to capture those pro shoots. But I did just in this semester with my students in theater history, we watched the Stratfest Richard II, the pro shoot of it, and it is wild and decadent and delicious. And I thought it was like a really great sort of production for college age students to be introduced to Richard II, even though they did cut This Earth, This England monologue, which was a little bit devastating, the John of Gaunt monologue. But that is definitely one that I would recommend that my viewers or listeners right now could still check out, because Stratfest has made their catalog available online. When I think about other productions that I've seen, that I have just loved, 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 there have there definitely have been productions that were not just at OSF, and it runs like a full gamut though of like my whole lifetime. The now defunct Cal Shakes. I saw many Shakespeares there for many, many years. And that is where I just fell in love with so many of our local actors here in the San Francisco Bay. I remember first seeing Catherine Castellanos on that stage, L. Peter Callender on that stage, Dan Hyatt, Andy Murray. I mean, just so many Bay Area actors that I just am so enamored with came from seeing Shakespeare there locally. If I had the opportunity to direct a Shakespeare again, like a redo, because I've done Merry Wives 3 times, I've done Twelfth Night 2 times, I've been in Romeo and Juliet, I've directed Romeo and Juliet, I've assisted Romeo and Juliet. It's my favorite play, so I would take another crack at it anytime ever. But the one that I would just really want to redo on, Roberta, is remember in 2014 when we did Othello?
Yes, I was just thinking about that at the once called Shady Shakespeare, but
Yes.
now
Silicon Valley Shakes.
Yeah.
I would love a redo while simultaneously feeling like there's no way to get that play right. Like while simultaneously feeling like maybe we
Mm,
should just like put a moratorium on that play. I also was so afraid of it. I was
mm.
so afraid of like reifying certain stereotypes that I would love to do it unafraid.
Mm.
Uh, and if I fail, I
Which is so
fail, but
funny
screw my courage to the
because
sticking place.
my perspective was like, I felt like you and Michael were like taking such care of the show with such like, I mean, nuanced conversations that I think at the time would definitely went over my head and like really digging deep. Um, and I mean, such incredibly intelligent actors in that production. Melissa Weinstein was in that, and
Her last name
but
is Jones.
now Jones. That's right. Thank you. And I just think everyone was just so like thoughtful and like really trying to like create a production that felt good to everybody at the time. So you say that you're terrified, but like from my perspective, it was like all taken with such care.
Oh, thank you.
And
Roberta,
my
what
great,
what do you want to what Shakespeare? Not adaptation, we're not there yet. I'll get there. But just what
oh,
Shakespeare do you want to direct?
oh, everything, all of them. But I feel like the one thing that I always come back to is Lear. I think the relationships between Lear and his daughters are really complicated and juicy. And I think the relationship between parent and child in many couples of characters is so interesting to me. Um, and I am, of course, I don't say of course, but maybe the viewers don't know, would be very interested in a woman playing Lear as a woman. Um, and what that does to the dynamic because I'm definitely interested in mother-daughter relationships and um legacy and like the importance of that from like a female perspective um and betrayal and um how do you get back from creating damage? Can you? So I think Lear would probably be my scary Othello, essentially.
Mhm. Jordan, what Shakespeare do you want to direct?
Yes.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. You know, I don't know. What's like a pretty one? I want to direct a pretty one.
They're all pretty.
You make it pretty.
I want to direct one. Um,
I now want to see your Romeo and Juliet.
yeah, I'll direct Romeo and Juliet. That's what I'll do. And I'll
I
make it good.
I love it. I love it. Out of the mouth of babes. Um, Roberta, in our last hour, you brought up and Juliet.
Hmm.
And in this hour, my plan is to move the conversation deeper into musical theater. So I will use Anne Juliet as a launch pad for that conversation and wonder what reflections you have on Anne Juliet as a sort of retelling of Romeo and Juliet and as a jukebox musical.
I mean, I was obsessed. I thought it was fire when I thought the choreography was insane. But I think what worked for that adaptation and kind of how the like jukebox of it all worked in its favor was it was Juliet literally taking back her narrative. So the question that the musical poses, and that's kind of in the marketing, is like, what if Juliet doesn't die? Um, and she goes on this wild journey of self-discovery and She makes friends and she lives a whole ass life. And then of course, parallel to that is like a Shakespeare plot of its own where he's learning through Anne Hathaway, his wife, the character, um, how to write a more empowered woman, how to be more of an ally as a playwright. And so I feel like it just hit at the right time. And for me, it worked. The messaging worked for me. It was also just a kick-ass time. The visuals were stunning. The music, the vocals were killer. I saw the original gal who played Juliet, and now I cannot remember her name. Um, but she was incredible. I think I saw the original cast in total. Um, it was all great. I am a big fan, and there's a big debate going on whether or not people like the British cast recording more or the American cast recording more. Um, I'm team American cast recording, just in case anybody wanted to know.
That's good to know. Um, in these times when it's
Mm.
hard to say I'm Team American, I'm glad you have found
That's
something
I
to
feel
appreciate.
confident in that department. I can't say anything anywhere else, but I feel confident in that department.
Roberta, we've worked on so many Shakespeare's together, and you've heard me say so many times, they're all musicals. They're all musicals. They're all
Yeah.
musicals. And you are an MT girly,
Mm.
and quiet as it's kept, Jordyn is an MT girly. Roberta, what are the rules? What are the rules of musical theater? What makes a musical a musical?
What do you mean? Um, like, do you want the like textbook response? Like,
I
com
mean,
equally weighted book score,
when you
dance
teach
elements?
when you teach your musical theater class,
Mm.
what do you tell the young minds who have signed up to take your musical theater class?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that a musical is something that is a production that puts equal weight into the storytelling modalities of music, text, book, and then choreography, movement, physical storytelling. Um, but I think the reason why it parallels so well with Shakespeare is that it's a heightened language. Music is a language, and so it's in that same vein of heightened language where you kind of have to dial it in mentally a little bit to pay attention and because we all receive, especially when we're adding pitch on top of language, and so like people receive information differently at different pitches, and so I think that is also a really interesting part of it. um but yeah, I think the best parallel is that it's a heightened language play.
What's your favorite musical?
Oh, why do you always
Yeah,
ask me that?
yeah,
I think you asked
yeah,
me that last
yeah.
time. No. My favorite musical is probably what I watched in that moment is what my favorite musical is. But um I think if I were to think of a couple off the top of my head, um Gypsy, Dogfight, uh, you know, I'm a big Pasek and Paul fan. Um uh yeah, yeah, I feel like I like so many things. I like everything. Waitress. I like a lot of contemporary, and I do actually like a lot of um old school musicals. um yeah. I'm a person who in general is really bad at picking favorites across the board. Um but I feel like the two that always stick out in my mind, definitely Gypsy, iconic, beautiful, beautiful story, complicated characters, very classic musical theater formula. Really want to see Audra in that, but that's a diversion. Anyways, I remember listening to the Dogfight cast album and feeling so like, oh my God, this like speaks to me emotionally. The main character, the like her journey of like um just like learning to love and then being completely betrayed, but then in the complicated social time of war and all, like I just thought, well, and of course it was Lindsay who Mendez who sang it so beautifully. So I feel like the person who is performing it is also like why they speak to you. And so I felt like at the time I was like, oh, this is it for me. Um, but like I really do try to champion more things written by women. So of course, right now, no other titles are coming to my freaking brain. Barlow and Bear, give it up to their little Bridgerton TikTok musical that was like real controversial for a second, but I loved it. Um, yeah. Unfortunately, there are not enough female composers that uh get their work done.
Word. Word. Jordan, you see a lot of musicals. Do you have a favorite?
Yes. Actually, my favorite is Back to the Future.
Get
I
out. You are fired.
I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you guys, to be controversial. No. You know what? I feel like I go like in waves where I hyperfixate on certain musicals for no reason. I don't really know why, but right now I'm on a really big Into the Woods kick because I
Hmm.
saw that Old Friends Sondheim review. Sorry, Roberta, I
I'm
know
so envious. I'm so
with Leia
envious.
Salonga and Bernadette Peters, and they like performed songs from Into the Woods. And I would have got emotional if I wasn't on Lexapro, so I can't get emotional anymore. But it was beautiful. It was so beautiful. And so now I've been on a really big Into the Woods kick and like just listening to that over and over and over again. And I also and maybe it's not even actually good. I don't know because I haven't actually seen this musical performed in years. So it actually could be like utter garbage,
Hmm.
but I think I just have fond memories of it. Children of Eden. I always am gonna say Children of Eden because I just really like Children of
Your mom loves that show.
I really like Children of Eden. Last time I searched, it's like not on Spotify. You have to go to like on YouTube to find um Children of Eden, like which is it's really weird to me, but I really do love it. So I would say maybe those two, but I don't know
Of
what
course, now I'm thinking of everything that I should have said because now the spotlight is not on me. And I'm like, duh, something rotten. Like all of these, I'm like naming all of these things in my head now that I'm like, hello. But
Rotten is really fun. I do really like that one too. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like I really like Rent too.
Rent. See, that's the thing is like, if I'm listening to it, it's my favorite in the moment. Like I
Yeah.
love musical theater so much
Yeah.
that like I'm obsessed with it in the moment. Like it's in my bloodstream. And then like I'm obsessed with the next thing. Like,
I really like Once on This Island. Like I go through
mm,
waves with that. I feel like where I'm listening to it a lot. Yeah,
hmm
that's what I've got.
if it's a musical, I'll see it.
Yes, even if it's Back to the Future. Um,
I saw it.
yes, we did. I so something rotten totally like lives in the in the world of Shakespeare. And there are, of course, like and Juliet, and there are other sort of like Shakespeare adjacent spin-offs, like Kiss Me Kate
Kiss Me Kate.
is totally, we talked about West Side Story already in the last episode. Love's Labor's Lost has been made into a musical many times. Twelfth Night has been made into a musical. So that material is so ripe for that form. I think because it was all written with a house band. So there was like, it had
Very
musical accompaniment to begin with. Shows like As You Like It and Twelfth Night are already written with so much song included. Like we still have a record of that music. For some of the plays, we don't. What's curious is how much Shakespeare makes its way into the opera repertoire. Have either of you seen any Shakespeare opera?
I don't think I've seen a single opera in my entire life. Unless you know something I don't.
I have definitely seen opera. Definitely don't invest in it the way that I do musical theater. But like I do know there's an Othello opera. But I don't think I've seen it. I think I've seen the like, honestly, I can't recall, but I've seen things at the San Jose Opera for sure.
Yeah. I watched a pro shoot of the Falstaff opera when we were preparing for our very first Merry Wives. So I did watch that. But I know Jordyn, for the viewers, Jordyn works at a performing arts center. I'm not going to say the name.
Exactly.
I'm not going to say the name. But a ballet will come through.
Yes.
And it's a Winter's Tale. And I've watched the Royal Ballet's production of The Winter's Tale. This is not that production. This is a different one. And I've seen several ballets of Romeo and Juliet, and I've seen a ballet of Othello as well. I just wonder, why do you all think that Shakespeare is such a popular source for this multimodal storytelling?
Because it's in the public domain.
I mean, yes, that.
I mean, it's universal themes. There, and
I
feel
don't
like
believe in the universal.
Well,
okay, let's be kind.
Themes that
you saying "Let's be kind."
What are you talking about,
Jordyn?
Let's not do this right now. We'll take this offline.
Jordyn Raylan.
Don't give out my middle name. Stop giving out details. Oh my God.
My cheeks literally hurt right now, y'all. Like I cannot.
I because of Shakespeare, because we have defaulted to calling Shakespeare universal, and Shakespeare has been a tool of oppression for many people. I like to distance myself from the idea that Shakespeare is universal. I think Shakespeare explores a full and robust and wide range of human emotions. And I think that if people want to tap in, they are likely to find something that resonates for them. However, I don't want to preach or believe in or propagate the universality of Shakespeare, because that has caused harm, which is why I say I don't believe in universal. I do believe in the public domain. That's why we named this podcast Shakespeare the Public Domain.
Well, and because it's public domain, and I think what I meant by universal is that whoever is adapting the play of their choice can mine it for what they are tuning in, like what they're most attuned to, right? So like if they're doing a Romeo and Juliet, because we're talking about it so much in this podcast. What are the themes that they feel most akin to that they want to highlight? What are the, the attributes, all of it. So I feel like I agree with what you said, and the like ability for people to see themselves in the work or to highlight themes that resonate or that they think will resonate with more people and that they think are worthy to produce.
Yeah.
And it's free.
I hear that. And I it's not free once some new generative artist puts their name on it, but it starts free. The source starts free.
The source material is free.
I'm really curious about like, Roberta, if you could take any Shakespeare play as your like source and make it a musical, and you could go as far or not in terms of adaptation as you wanted. Like, you didn't necessarily have to keep any of Shakespeare's words, but like you were using his characters or his plots. Well, let's be clear, Shakespeare was a radical adapter, so none of them were his to begin with. However, he reinvented them. So if you could reinvent any Shakespeare play as a musical, what would you choose?
Oh my gosh. I feel like oh gosh. A niche musical love of mine is like, a little dark comedy genre, or just, dark drama, which I think when people think of musical theater, they think of like the formulaic, like happy love stories, comedies. And so I think, I don't know, like something dark, like I think it'd be really fun to do like a dark Shakespeare adaptation, like, or something more dramatic, like a la Murder Ballad, where it's a bit stripped down, but like it's all about the characters. Maybe it, I don't know, maybe it's, oh gosh, or maybe it's something uh like dark comedy, like Reefer Madness style, where we're doing like, why is my brain not thinking of the title right now? What's the one where they bake the people in the pie?
Sweeney Todd.
No, Shakespeare.
Oh, Titus Andronicus.
No, I feel like we need like a dark comedy, Reefer Madness style Titus Andronicus. Like, I feel like if I'm gonna do something, like I want to do something that's like not, that's not being done right now.
Titus is dark. I don't know where the comedy comes in, so that would be the task of you as the adapter to bring that in, because Lavina definitely is raped and mutilated in that play.
Yeah, but
tongue
like
cut out, arms cut off.
Yeah, but that's where the like maybe social commentary comes in, like the frogs a little bit, like, I don't know. I'm just blending a bunch of weird shit musicals
You
right
asked
now.
her a question and she's answering.
I love it. I'm so excited. I'm like, who are your writing partners? Let's get on the phone. Let's call some people up. Let's make some pitches.
Yeah, I feel like, because I do love a little like take a problematic theme and then like twist it and then make it social commentary and funny.
Jordyn, what Shakespeare play would you like to see as a musical?
Whoa. Okay, that's such a heavy question.
I mean, it's an adaptation. Like, okay, Kiss Me Kate is not Taming of the Shrew.
Okay, so we'll start listing. Give me names.
Oh, gosh.
Come on.
Didn't you read Shakespeare in high school? Everybody had to.
Do you want a comedy? Do you want a tragedy?
I want
Do
a
you want a
tragedy.
history?
She wants a
Okay.
tragedy.
Yeah.
Hamlet, Macbeth, Lear.
That's it.
Othello. Come on.
Othello. This is the problem when you're like trying to come up with like all the names for things in the moment, which is a skill of yours, Dawn Monique, but
Mhm.
not mine.
Well, I have my answer. My answer is ready to go, but I'm just the host.
Oh,
Mom, now you list some.
List some tragedies.
List
or
just other ones.
Troilus and Cressida.
Okay.
I would.
Sad,
Oh, I would love to do Troilus and Cressida.
sad, sad, sad. Um, but the romances I think are great, like Winter's Tale, Pericles, Tempest. Those are
I'm
like
gonna go with Tempest.
Ooh,
genre
Tempest would be
confusing.
good.
I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
Tempest. Give me a rundown of Tempest real quick. Just
I
to make
actually
sure
want. I want Hamnet to be a musical.
Roberta, I knew you were gonna bring up that freaking book slash play. I knew you were gonna bring it up. I was
I
just
just feel like we could have done so much more. Anyways, that's off topic.
I mean, it can be on topic, but I
Well,
vote.
I would do Measure for Measure, the trap music opera, hip hop
Oh,
opera.
yeah.
I think Measure for Measure is just needs a trap treatment, like
Mm.
hardcore trap treatment. If I was going a little more like standard expectation musical theater, definitely like Much Ado, I think is just like ready to like be a musical. Like, can't you just, I mean, like the power ballad Beatrice could just sing, or like the Beatrice
Oh no.
Benedict like duet would just like have the girlies going mad. Talk about a cast album. That could be the one. That could definitely be the
Yeah.
one.
Mhm.
Also, I would just love to direct those Shakespeare plays, and if I did, I'd add music because that's how I roll. It's what I do. Give me an
Just
inch,
call it PJP.
take a mile.
The answer is
Ah,
all of them. The
all
answer
of them.
is all of them.
All of them.
There is no wrong answer.
I think like if we could like really go in there and like deconstruct the text, and I wasn't like bound by like, because Shylock is a character that I am so, 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 so fascinated with. And Shakespeare gives him like some beautiful, beautiful language, but the cultural context in which Shakespeare wrote that play, I know that it's so anti-Semitic. Portia is so anti-Semitic. The English were so anti-Semitic, so that I know that like contextually in his time, the play was doing something, and that then in the US, we have reused that play time and time again to sort of like reify those stereotypes and tropes and perpetuate harm. And I would never want to
Mm.
do that. So if there was a way to like give Shylock his story back, like a and Juliet, if there was a way
Fanfic. Yeah.
to like boost Shylock so that we see just how like cruel and depraved we are toward that character, and how like we just treat him so nasty,
What if Shylock and Malvolio had like a fanfic musical
oh my goodness.
together?
I like Shylock better than I like Melville. but there is like a whole there's like a whole collection of those characters that are left
Yeah.
as outsiders at the end of the play.
Outsiders. Yeah.
And it's interesting because both Twelfth Night and Merchant of Venice, and even like Cymbeline, well, Cymbeline falls into the like romance problem play category, but in terms of like folio, these are plays that are billed as comedies, but there's this character that is still left like alone on the outside, the character that doesn't get to like reintegrate to the new order of things. So it could be interesting to take those characters, and put them in
It's
a
like
story
Disney
together.
villains, but make it Shakespeare.
Yes, except for Shylock is not a villain, and I want to
No,
be
I know, but I
sure.
mean, the concept of like taking characters that people like in their world don't typically love, and then giving them their own voice.
Yeah, yeah. So much can be done. So much can be done with these plays. They are literally like source material for like so much. I mean, I could like work a Shakespeare play forever, I think.
Me too.
You
Thank
could.
Jordyn.
You could.
Come on.
Okay, friends. Okay, I'm gonna do my sign off.
Okay.
Oh,
Thanks for tuning in, friends. We'll see you next week for more Not Without Right, a Shakespeare in the Public Domain podcast. Bye.